Guys, welcome to the Risen King Wednesday podcast. I have my wonderful, beautiful, God-given wife, Caitlin, and then the other woman the Lord put here with us, Allison Collins.
Rude. So rude.
The extraordinaire planner, coordinator, and I will tell you one dynamic that happens in our staff meeting is these two team up against me all the time. I'm regularly being teamed up against, and my heart is still healing.
I think you're okay.
On a daily basis.
You're good.
Today we're going to talk about 1 Corinthians 12, but really more even from kind of the angle of disappointment, because I think when you get into talking about the gifts of the Spirit, like we did Sunday, and you read these verses about gifts of healing and gifts of miracles, and even prophecy. I think prophecy and prophesying and the prophetic can be a really tricky thing. You know, growing up in an environment where that was highly valued, with it also came tons of moments where someone gave me a word from the Lord that did not come true, that wasn't accurate. There's obviously lots of unanswered prayers out there in each of our individual lives, collectively in the church. And one of the kind of beautiful conversations I was having with Buddy Monday after church was, we talked about being a cessationist. Little mini recap. That's somebody that does not believe the gifts of the Spirit are for today, that they ended when the Bible was written. There's more nuance to that, but that's the quickest summation of it. I would say there's probably very few people that would out loud say, I am a cessationist theologically. I've done the research, the study. There's some, but, in our environment anyways. I mean, there's entire movements that believe that. But in our world, very few would say that out loud. One of the points that Buddy made that I thought was really good Monday morning was what tends to happen more frequently is we slowly drift by disappointment into cessationism without realizing we've drifted there. And the fervency of our prayer can change when we have an unanswered prayer. The belief that God will do something when we contended and did all the things. And I know I've had moments where my faith was there. Like I knew it was going to happen. Yeah. I believed for it to take place, and then it didn't.
100%.
And I think what I want to dialogue is, what do we do with that? Because we have to be able to get over that barrier to believe 1 Corinthians 12. We have to be able to reconcile. And I would say one of the mistakes I believe Pentecostals like us, like I'm a professed charismatic Pentecostal, believe in the gifts, filled with the Spirit, all of that. But one of the mistakes that we can make is we just then try to ignore the fact it wasn't answered and move on. Rather than facing the disappointment that comes with that, so that we can heal from it and then believe again. Because we are called to believe. That James says that it's impossible to please God without faith. Yeah. And so I think what I'd love to kind of just unpack is the disappointment of an unanswered prayer. And how do we work through that to then trust that miracles are for today and pray again the next time with the same level of fervor, the same level of passion, the same level of heart into it.
Yeah. I think personally, as you were talking, what my mind went to is realizing you have to know yourself really well. Like if you're self-aware to realize,
well, that's a problem.
When does doubt creep? When does faith win? For me, over the years of really doing a lot of self-discovery and awareness, I don't naturally come like that. Like I have to do work to look at myself and see how I'm wired and how I think. Well, belief is one of my biggest strengths, meaning trust. So I remember an old Christian worship song lyric. I'm probably even misquoting it, but it was something to the point of, if you never did anything for me again, I'd still worship you. It's this idea of you've already done enough, Lord. Like Jesus, you've already done enough. And I remember that lyric because I remember thinking that's so true. Not just salvation and him rescuing me and I'm found, now I was lost. But for me, when I think of the miraculous and miracles in my life, I would say because of the miracles I've already personally witnessed and seen, a lack or a disappointment or an unanswered prayer or not seeing the miracle cannot convince me otherwise, because I already have these stones of remembrance of miracles I have seen. And to me, that's enough. So I think also the idea of I could be convinced out of it is, well, were you maybe unconvinced in the beginning, or when you did experience something, or is the devil able to like come in, creep in, or are lies winning over truth? For me, I just have these huge stones of truth, miracles, that I'm like, nothing could change my mind. So it's almost like, where does my faith and doubt waver when I can actually just look back and know, like, oh, I believe he does miracles. It's just this time that wasn't his
So
will.
how do you handle an unanswered prayer? Something that you really cared about, not a little one, like something that you put your heart into. You prayed to a point of sacrifice, like you believed to like the last time you believed to a point where if this prayer doesn't get answered, it has the risk of hurting my faith, like a contending.
So I feel like the last time that I can remember a big thing I contended for that did not happen, I ultimately, and I'm like, I'm not trying to sound like a hero or like it's all about me, but I'm like, I just remember thinking, I'm praying and contending for this miracle so that you get the glory, God. Like, I just remember thinking, your glory is going to be so shown. There's going to be so many lives saved, people believe, deepening, stones of remembrance in other people's lives. I just remember thinking, like, this is for your glory. Like, God, do it. I know you can. Like, how more do I need to pray? What do I need to sacrifice to, like, do it. And it didn't happen, and I just think, wow, I think I do just have, and again, it might just be the way I'm wired, where to me, it's just this base level of like, well, there must be greater glory from this side of things. Like, maybe there's another story. This is going to happen. I just have a sense of belief of just, and I guess just ultimate dependence.
So you would
and
say, I mean, you're right. I think the way I would understand that or interpret that is you have a trust in you trust enough in the Lord's sovereignty with the outcome.
100%.
Yeah. I think that's pretty critical. That's a hard balance. What about you, Allison?
Well, it's interesting you have me here today because I'm the exact opposite of Caitlin.
Hey, I'm like, we're all wired differently. Like, I know that's when I took my Strength Finders test, and that was one of them. I'm like, oh, that makes sense, and that's why I'm like, there's just an unwavering in me, but it's just one of my core things.
Okay, yeah, I have not taken the Strength Finders test, but if I did, it'd probably say doubt is one of my
Is one of your strengths? Doubt is one of my strengths.
Well, okay. Like,
I never believe anything good will happen.
Or more like, there's probably a word like analytic. Yeah, like you're like looking into things more.
Yeah. I think I grew up in the church, not a Pentecostal church. I grew up in Calvary Chapel, just like Bible believing, Bible teaching, do the right thing. Almost feeling like anytime I sin, I'm disappointing the Lord.
Right.
And so I lived with this constant, I'm always disappointing God because I'm always messing up. And so I think living with that like my whole life, and then asking him for a miracle or believing for a miracle was super hard for me because I just was always like, he's probably disappointed in me about something. Wow. So why is he going to do this? So I've had to really like work through that over the years. And then I would say more recently, I did 3 years of BSSM. And then immediately 2 weeks after I graduated, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. And you would think that after 3 years of Pentecostal BSSM, like my faith.
What's BSSM? Because there's plenty of people that don't know.
Bethel Supernatural School of Ministry. Okay. And so
obviously I knew, but I know there's people watching that don't.
Yeah. And so I think like what drew me to that was the Supernatural School of Ministry, because I was always very curious.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk much about the Holy Spirit. I never heard anybody speak in tongues or anything like that. So it was something that I was hungry to like experience. And so I got to experience that for those 3 years. I think it did build my faith, but also it was a lifetime of living the other way. And so I was really kind of like dipping my feet in. So when I found out that my mom was sick, I felt a faith that I hadn't experienced before. And I wanted to believe with everything in me that God was going to heal her. And there was like this little piece of me that was like reserved, like, I'm not going to give all of,
let me
you
hold
know,
this piece
my
back.
faith and belief just in case, then maybe I won't be as disappointed. But I really did, I prayed over her, and she also was not charismatic or anything like that. So I remember praying over her. I remember saying, Mom, I believe that God's going to heal you. I remember her just nodding her head, you know, whatever, he's going to do whatever he's going to do, and I'm going to be okay with that. And so when she did pass away, she was sick for 15 months. When she passed away, I really had to sit down with my disappointment, which I did. And just, I think in that moment, I just said, God, like, I'm so disappointed. Like, I just said, like, I don't understand. Like, you taught me for the last 3 years how to pray for miracles and see other people's miracles. And this is so disappointing. My mom was only 65 years old. And why did I even go to this school if I can't do miracles for, you know, in your name?
I paid tuition so that my mom would get better.
No, not that. But, you know, you really like, you're trying to like learn, how do I partner with God to see his power be displayed on the earth? And none of my mom's family is Christian. So you also have all these preconceived.
Man, this would really show them who he is.
Exactly. You have all these preconceived
things. So how'd you work
things.
through this, Allison?
I really, through disappointment, like I allowed myself to be disappointed. I allowed myself to have the hard questions. I still sometimes am working through it. Like I still sometimes is like, I'm questioning God, like, why didn't that happen? But at the end of the day, I think that I am on a journey of building my trust with the Lord. And at the end of the day, I do look back at remembrance stones. I also really believe in looking back in the areas where God has come through for you. Maybe I haven't ever seen a miracle of God healing somebody, like physically, tangibly, but what has God done in my life?
Yeah.
He has healed me emotionally from a lot of wounds and scars from my childhood. I was able to raise 2 amazing kids. I mean, I just look back at every good thing that God's done in my life that I can't, that I'm like, this was not me.
Right.
I can't deny it was God's hand on my life. And that's really what I do. That is where that builds my faith. That helps me reconnect to trust with God and just say, I don't know everything. I don't understand everything, but I do trust you, God. Like, you've been faithful in the past. I know you'll be faithful again. But sometimes we're just left with questions.
Did you stop praying for healing? Yeah, sometimes we are left. That's a great way to say that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we are. Did you stop praying for healing and miracles?
You know what? I probably paused maybe for a minute, but then when something big, like I didn't just go back into like, oh, this person's sick, let me pray for them.
Yeah,
it was definitely a journey. I had to heal too from the grief and allow myself to be sad. That my mom was not here anymore. But more recently, we had another family member on my son-in-law's side who's also diagnosed, and he is very young. And I had an encounter with the Lord where I'm like, I love you too much. You're too good. Like, I know your faithfulness is too much. Like, it's going to make me cry. But I felt like I can't not believe for this again. Like, and there is that very real thing in my mind. Like, I might be disappointed again. Like, I do like struggle with that, but it's worth it to me.
Yes, Allison.
To believe that God can, and even not just go beyond the can, but I have to really push myself to believe that he will.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm kind of like working through right now with this other family member, and just saying, God, I believe your goodness over his life, and I believe you are going to heal him. And so I'm exercising that right now.
That's amazing.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
What a great thing to share. I think I saw this video this week that I feel like helps illustrate it pretty well. There's this illusionist that was at Liberty University. You know, you see the videos of their chapels. They're just massive in this basketball gym, or I'm assuming it's a chapel. I don't know what they're doing, but it's huge. Tons of people. And this illusionist is got a fist up, and he's trying to convince everybody he's got $100 in his hand. And he says, hey, who believes I have $100? Raise your hand. People raise their hand. who doubts that I have $100? People raise their hand. And he points at somebody that raised their hand for the doubt. And he says, so you don't think I have $100 in my hand? And, he doesn't show the person. So I don't know who it was. And he goes, opens the hand and there's $100 in the hand. He looks at him. He goes, do you know what left once you saw the $100? And the person, again, you can't hear it. He repeats their answer. And he goes, yes, doubt left. He goes, do you know what also left? Faith left as well. Because faith was replaced with knowledge once you saw the $100 bill.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty powerful point.
Illustration, yeah.
An illustration that's actually the nature of faith, is to believe in and for something that you don't yet have or see, and really probably don't have a logical reason to believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you try to make sense of this, because the thing that shakes me is I cannot get past the irony, the ironic nature of the fact that some people are Bible. We don't believe in the miracles because it's all word. Well, the word is dripping with instruction to pray for the miraculous and to believe in the Holy Spirit. And that picture of it was so powerful to me because I thought, man, that's so exactly what it is. It's almost like you're walking on an invisible road sometimes. Mm-hmm. And you look down and there's 100 feet underneath you, and yet somehow it's how it can feel to pray for something. It's like I'm having to try to give my energy to something I can't see. And then I remember James, it is impossible to please God without faith, meaning it's actually impossible to please God without having things I don't see that I'm hoping for and I'm contending for and I'm believing for. And I always feel one of the things for me, probably the biggest area for me is finances, right? Like I carry the financial weight of our home. I carry the financial weight of the church. As we'll go through a tight month at church or at home, and I get stressed out and I find myself short with the kids and short with Kate. Like I can see I can feel and sense my own response.
Tension.
Yeah.
And then Kate and I will receive something that we weren't anticipating, or whatever it is, or the church will have a Sunday that covers the month, and it's the last Sunday of the month, and the month is covered, or whatever it is. And then I'm like, oh, I feel so relieved. I feel so good. Well, it's actually that illustration of that illusionist goes, oh, well, you feel good because you have knowledge now. Yeah. You didn't feel good when you were dependent on faith. You actually needed knowledge to be at peace. Whew. Oh man, that is exposing something in my own heart that I have to work through.
Yeah.
Because I have to learn how to be so full of faith that I can be at peace while only living on faith.
Yeah.
Let's pause there for a second so everybody can have their own moment of saying, can I have peace and live in peace when I'm actually having to live in faith and not knowledge? Because that is a very big tell that you just illustrated for us.
That'll make you want to speak in tongues right there, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, like when we're actually living by faith and reliant on somebody bigger than us, something we are out of control.
Not somebody, Jesus.
Yeah, sorry.
We're not a somebody church.
No, we're not a somebody church. Yes. But when you're having to
Jesus.
say that I don't have control, I relinquish control. Like you have the driver's seat. I don't know the outcome. I can't even do anything about the outcome. It's only you.
Yeah. Can
you live in peace in that?
I mean, that's the question for the day.
That is the question for the day.
And I think even just challenging ourselves, whenever it's funny, I always have a little moment of conviction the day after I wake up and I feel totally peaceful when the
knowledge came.
The knowledge came and the money came through and the need was met. And then I'm like, oh, thank goodness. I feel so good today. Who wants a slush, kids? Let's go. You just like, and then I'm like, then there's always a moment that I'm like, oh, but also I needed the answer to have the peace.
Yeah.
And I've got to learn to sit in it. And so I think that's a great way to wrap it up, is to process that for yourself. Are you truly comfortable in a place that requires faith? Or do you sometimes get stuck needing knowledge to give you peace? I think it's a really great picture. I'm not sure if we can add that little video to this YouTube video. We'll try to figure that out if we can.
Or we can
great.
link it at least.
Or we can link it because it's a really good picture. And it's out there as, you know, I think I saw it on Instagram. So we'll try to see if we can link that because I think the picture of that's really profound. You look like you want to wrap something up, baby.
I just wanted to add 2 more questions. I know you're going to think that's too many, but you know what? Here we
You
are.
can add one.
Nope, it's going to be 2. Because I think what I just was honestly picking up something on each of what us shared. So for you, that idea of do you need the actual knowledge, you need the solution, the solve to be able to live in peace, or can you walk in faith? And then honestly, something Allison, you said that stuck out that I was like, oh, I'm going to think about that. I don't doubt that he can, it's if he will.
Yeah.
And having, like, are we reserving that, like, oh, I'm probably going to be disappointed, or are we knowing like he can, he will, and if not, then.
Yeah.
So just, I think asking yourself where in your life is that showing up?
Yeah.
And then the thing I was thinking about for mine is, as y'all were sharing, I was remembering some of those stones of remembrance of where I saw the gifts of spirit work so deeply in my life that they are the rocks. And so maybe some of you really do have those, but you've forgotten. I actually realized, I'm like, the moment I came to faith was through somebody having the gift of prophecy. So then I'm like, oh, of course I have no doubt in the gifts of the spirit, because that's literally what started
drew you to Jesus.
It drew me to Jesus. It's why I'm here today. So, but a lot of times we can forget those initial moments that you're like, oh, he is alive and active.
Yes.
This didn't die. This didn't go away. So look at your life, look at your history with Jesus. Do you trust that he can and he will? And can you live in peace when you're actually walking in faith?
Good.
Allison, any parting thoughts? Perfect. Just joking.
I'm never doing the podcast with you again.
No, you have to. It was so good. You gotta let me razz you a little bit.
He gets to razz you more because he has to go home with me, so he can't razz me as much.
Exactly.
True. It is true. It is a gift. I will say this. This is probably going to be the only time I ever say this as we wrap up. I'm not going to say this to you guys' face again. I do actually like working with both of you.
Thank you.
You're a good, strong,
Stephanie,
balanced.
we're going to need a short of that
You're
so
a
we can
good,
replay it all the
strong
time.
Balance to our world. I love what you contribute, Allison. Caitlin, you already know I love everything you contribute, both at home and at work.
Okay.
But I am
we
super
better wrap
thankful.
this up.
Allie Collins, we love you and we're thankful for you.
All right, we'll see you next week on the regular.
Doubt is neutral. It's not good or bad. It's just neutral. It's what you do with your doubt that determines where you land. That for some of us, our doubt will stir within us a discouragement that will lead to distance from God, or maybe even what we're seeing in the culture, deconstruction. Or, my prayer for each of you is that your doubt would lead to this desperation that would ultimately lead you into deeper intimacy with Jesus, more than you ever thought possible.